Sherman from MLive and Michigan's Best. I'm excited to bring you another Michigan's Best podcast, all about Michigan Sugar, makers of Pioneer Sugar. And we've got an interesting guest with us today who's going to talk about these cool red bags, Pioneer Sugar, and the global sugar market in general. And we've got Pedro Figueroa with us, the VP of Sales and Marketing with Michigan Sugar. Pedro, welcome.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm doing great. So last time we saw each other, we were standing in a sugar beet field, learning how sugar beets are harvested. And you guys are in the thick of the harvest right now over in the Thumb region.
Absolutely. Yeah. We actually started a little earlier this year. We usually start processing beets at the beginning of September, but we did it this year 3 weeks earlier than normal. The beets are not quite mature, but they have enough sugar content to extract and put in a bag. The demand, and we'll talk about this a little bit more with the markets, but the demand has been just so strong, and just coinciding with the launch of our new bags, we wanted to bring product as quickly as possible to our customers. So we're very excited about that.
It is, and we'll talk more about this really awesome new red bag that Pioneer Sugar has unveiled this year in a little bit. But Pioneer Sugar is an interesting company in the sense that this is the brand of the sugar, but you guys do it under Michigan Sugar, and you're a cooperative.
Correct. So we, as a Michigan Sugar company, is the parent company, and so it's a cooperative. It's made up of plus 900 growers that collectively own the company. They each own their farms individually, but collectively they own the factories, and they own obviously the sugar that's produced and that we bring to market. So so very busy, because right now we're what we call pre-harvest stage. Early dig, I should say. With early dig, it's we're pulling beets that are not quite mature yet, and then once we get to full dig, sometime in October, that's when things will get really busy. We'll have over 10,000 trucks of 10,000 trucks per day delivering beets to our facilities for a 2-week period.
10,000 trucks per day? Do you guys like rent a whole bunch of trucks to come in and do this? How does that even? That's a crazy number.
It is a logistical thing of beauty to watch, but that we do turn over 10,000 trucks every 24 hours and during the full campaign mode.
That's amazing. Now, when you guys, after you process the sugar, how much sugar are you producing every year for people to use?
So on an annual basis, Michigan Sugar produces 1.3 billion pounds of sugar per year. Now the sugar goes into different segments. A fair number, a good chunk goes into our industrial segment. So big food manufacturers, ice cream, confectionery, cereals. We do a fair amount of sugar into the food service. So that's sugar that eventually will wind up in a restaurant for cooking purposes. And then a larger number of our business now continues to migrate towards the consumer and the retail directly to supermarkets, which is why it was time for us to do a beautiful uplift of our presence in the shelf with a brand new bag and a new appearance.
Well, let's talk about this new bag since you brought it up. It is a bright red color. You can't miss it when you walk by it at the store. And I love some of the things that you've put on the bag. You really have tried to use the bag to tell more of Pioneer Sugar's story, right?
Yes. So, for us, we are a co-op. So, we wanted to spend time to carefully work the facelift, what we call the facelift. But without losing our identity as a company. So the color scheme, for example, was very important for us to remain red, white, and blue. Was very important. But at the same time, we spent a lot of time with a branding company, and we did some market research as far as what attracts shoppers today to the supermarket, and some glaring themes came out of that analysis. So. An attractive bag, a bag that calls out your attention when you're shopping, especially when you're going through a very mature category like sugar. People kind of take for granted that, that's where the sugar is usually located. But when you go in with something that's completely different than what they've seen in the past, there's an immediate attraction there as far as, let me find out a little bit more about that product. So a very attractive packaging. bold colors, um, and then some of the other common themes that for us are intricate and fundamental to the Michigan sugar and to the pioneer story, which is locally grown, locally owned. The sugar is not coming from the Far East. It's not coming from Africa. It's grown in the backyard, and we basically that sugar, once it gets pulled from the ground and it goes into our facility, 8 hours later is in a bag ready to go to the market. So
yeah, that's one of the most amazing facts, how quickly you go from farm into the bag, really. I mean, it's so fast.
It is fast, and so it's a very elaborate and very concentrated process. It's pretty straightforward when you think about it. You're basically you're taking the beet, you're slicing it, you're extracting the sugar, which is in kind of liquid form, and then you're eventually going to pass it through evaporators and clarifiers and filters just to get all the impurities out and get pure sugar. But it's 8 hours. So that's part of the story. The locally grown, locally owned. It is a Michigan product. We are very proud of the roots. So Michigan is featured in the bag as well. The color of the bag itself to attract that new millennial shopper is completely different than for example, myself or even my parents as far as what they were looking for when they did their sugar purchase. So we're calling to all of to that. Michigan centric, and we're also focusing on this be a pioneer theme, which is part of sugar overall is we can use it to sweeten a bag, but we can also, there are multiple uses for it. Skin care, for example, skin scrubs are important on that. A simple syrup, if you want to do a simple syrup for your cocktails. It's open game as far as the versatility of the product, and being a pioneer is really more about using your imagination. And so if you find alternative uses for it, the more the welcomed. So.
Right. Well, this probably has to be the first Pioneer sugar bag that you guys have ever put a hashtag on. And the hashtag is Be a Pioneer, which I think is great. Yeah, you're kind of moving that way. But I know you and I have talked about all the different ways you use sugar, and it isn't always the traditional method of just putting it into a cake or a pastry. I know that we're also doing another series at mlive.com called Sweet Treat of the Week. And so far I've talked to everyone from distillers who are making rum with it to brewers that are making beer with it. And then also, yeah, like you said, mixologists doing cocktails, as well as traditional things like ice cream and cookies and cakes, which is really nice.
Yes.
And this is an all natural product. It's coming directly out of the ground and into the bag, which I think is appealing to a lot of people who maybe aren't looking for additives or things that were created in a lab. This isn't.
Absolutely. 100% all natural. And we can also make additional claims that some of our competitors can't. So our sugar is 100% vegan certified. We're a few number of actual domestic marketers that can make that claim. So any vegan applications, our sugar is 100% safe. And
I have to ask you, what would
gluten-free as well? So gluten-free is also another thing.
Gluten-free makes sense, but what would you do to sugar to make it not be vegan?
Great question. So it all has to do with we're going to go through a little sugar production class for a few minutes.
All right, Pedro.
So at the end of the day, like I said, when you slice the beets and you start the sugar production process, eventually you're going to pass through certain stages where you're going to clarify and you're going to filter the liquid before it becomes a crystal. Some of the other companies around the country use what they call a bone char filter, and bone char filter is made from cow bones. And so if you have a sugar facility that is filtering the sugar through bone char, you cannot classify it as vegan certified. And 100% of our factories, the 4 factories here in Michigan, are non-bone char. We use a different technology called ionic exchange, and that is 100% acceptable as far as the vegan use and consumption.
That is good information to know. I did not know that. Thank you, Pedro.
So we'll quiz you all about this afterwards on.
All right, that sounds good. I like going to sugar school with you. Well, Pedro, let's talk a little bit about where Michigan stands in the global sugar market. How do we participate in that? Where do we fall? How does it affect us?
Yeah. So just, in just very in very general terms, the U.S. is actually a net is a deficit producer of sugar. We actually need to import sugar in order to balance our consumption. We don't produce enough. So in our case as Michigan Sugar Company, we don't export our sugar to the world market, to the international markets. 100% of the sugar that we produce gets consumed in the United States. And we're also a regional marketer. We're not the core geography for us as Pioneer and as Michigan is obviously the state of Michigan. It's more in Indiana, Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, Western New York, maybe a little bit of Chicago. We're starting to expand now into Northern Kentucky, kind of Cincinnati, right across the Cincinnati, the bridge into Kentucky. So that's where the brand has the most recognition. But the great thing is with technology and internet and the e-commerce now, we're getting interest from customers or Michiganders that have transplanted in other parts of the country where they, November comes along and they want to get a cherry pie recipe and they get that Michigan itch. I want to make the pie with the sugar that my grandmother used. And so part of our strategy was first to focus on the brand, the facelift. Secondly, was to work on our e-commerce capabilities with the website, linking our product to the portal of our customers and social media. And then once that structure set up, is now be able to now start going to customers that on a case-by-case basis that are not necessarily in the backyard, but that still love the product, love the look, and want to continue supporting it.
Well, that's exciting news from you guys at Michigan Sugar and Pioneer Sugar that you can now get it throughout the country if you wanted to online, and you can still look for the new red bags in the store. And you've rebranded your powdered sugar and your brown sugars as well.
Correct. So it's a full facelift on the consumer line, what we call the consumer line. So it's our 25-pound bags, 10-pound bags, 4-pound bags, the powdered and the browns, which are 7 to 2-pound bags, and our 1-pound line. We are starting to look at our industrial line and see whether within the next 12 to 18 months we also do a facelift on the industrial packaging as well.
That's awesome. Well, Pedro, where can people get more information about Michigan Sugar and Pioneer Sugar to maybe place an order if they wish, or just to learn some of the history of your over 100-year-old company?
Absolutely. So, on Pioneer Sugar itself is pioneersugar.com. Website is pretty straightforward, pioneersugar.com. You can also look for us in social media under Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest under Michigan Pioneer Sugar as well. And if you have any questions, if any of you have any questions as far as the Michigan Sugar Company itself and what we do as far as sustainability, for example, with emissions, water usage, agricultural practices, then that's a separate website, which is michigansugar.com. But for Pioneer Sugar specifically, our product line and what we do, pioneersugar.com is the way to go.
Yeah, it's a great resource with lots of recipes if people are looking for that as to how to use some of this great products in it.
Absolutely.
All right, well, Pioneer Sugar, made by Michigan Sugar. It's locally grown, locally owned. Pedro Figueroa, who's the VP of Marketing and Sales at Michigan Sugar, makers of Pioneer Sugar. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to see more of our Michigan's Best podcast series, you want to head on over to Facebook. Look up This Is My Best.